holy stuff of life that you have in your possession comes with relationships. And so I'd like to share a relationship of long standing with this particular woman and this particular statue. It comes from the time I had chosen to revisit the place where I had gone to seminary, and I had gone back to Durham with my husband and then our 4-year-old son. And we were at a friend's home celebrating and just catching up on our lives after seminary. And in this party, there was a sudden announcement by a man who simply said that he wanted everyone's attention and he needed help because he had been hired as a construction worker to clear the grounds of a monastery. And he had to start that job on Monday. And here is where he needed help. His task was, in fact, to bulldoze down all the religious statues on that grounds of that monastery, because the company that bought it, I think it was Exxon, certainly didn't want any of those left on the grounds. And so here's the request he asked. If any of us could come before Monday and take any of the statues with us to keep them safe, we would be welcome to them. Well, I remember looking at my husband and thinking, well, let's see, we have a small Volkswagen, very old car, but we should go and check it out. And so we drove to this beautiful monastery that would in fact become a corporate headquarters. And we began walking through the grounds of this beautifully manufactured and in fact manicured landscape. And we had to smile because, of course, there were many beautiful statues, saints and heroes, and there was, in fact, an entire statuary of the virtues. But every single one of them was at least 2 tons or more. These were quite large statues. And so there was no way 2 well-meaning Protestants with a very small yellow Volkswagen could have rescued any of these. They were going to be ground into bits. And our son, Daniel, had sort of run ahead of us into a clearing. And he made a sound of almost distress, and so I followed him, and I saw him. He was just transfixed, and he was looking up at a very large piece of marble. And from his posture, I knew that there was something very wrong. And what he was looking at, I realized, for the first time in his life, was he was looking at a crucifix. And it was a beautifully done sculpture. The body it was the carving and the work was in fact beautiful, except for him there was no beauty, there was only horror. Because when I reached him, he said, looking at this figure, in fact in agony, "Take him down." And I said, almost with a smile, "Daniel, I can't take him down." And I bent down to pick him up because he obviously was hurting. And that request turned into almost a hysterical scream. "Take him down, take him down, take him down." And I could hear him as I carried him off, his eyes still glued to that figure. And I thought to myself, he's seen what we've forgotten, that the beauty that I had allowed to mask, the horror, for him as a child was not there. He saw something that was wrong and that he wanted us to fix, that we should be taking him down. So we walked in the woods and I began to think about the impossibility of protecting anyone, particularly children, from that grief of suffering. And as we're walking around, the leaves and the area of a hermit's cottage, I in fact almost fell over, because face down in the leaves and the mud was a statue, face down. So we stopped and we turned her over. She's quite heavy. And we discover, of course, Mother Mary of the one who hung on the cross. And she has apparently been abandoned. We looked and looked for her hands, but they could not be found. And then our dilemma was, what did we do? Here we found a statue that maybe 3 very strong people could carry, but 2 and 1 small child for at least a half a mile. But our decision was made not by us, not by the grown-ups, by our son, because he became convinced that while we might not be able to take him down, we could pick her up. We could rescue her. Here is the mother. Here is the one who is bearing in her body the future of what it means to be holy and human. And he was convinced we needed to save her. So it was a very long walk as the sun went down, and we carried and we dropped and we picked up and we carried. But through that entire long pilgrimage, he kept encouraging her that it would be fine. We were going to take her home. She would be all right. And so she's been in almost every space I've ever worked in, ever taught in, and she stands here as a reminder particularly in this season, that we should not accept the image of someone suffering as normal. We should, in fact, be impelled to take him down. And when we can't take him down, that vision should enable us to pick her up. So whatever that gift of vision is for this season, may you feel that sense of empowerment and presence from not only the one who made us who we are, Christian, but the one who brought that Holy One, that holy human one into the world and kept him safe and made home for him.
Stay.